Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about some harsh truths about grading sports cards. These might be hard to hear, but these are really good to keep in mind as you're either starting up your grading or even if you're experienced like me, these are good things for me to keep in mind as well. So let's jump into it. Number one, the gem rate does not matter if you're not grading the right cards. A lot of people focus solely on gem rate, and I've fallen into this trap before as well. You know, oh, I got 80% gem rate on this order. This is great. But that alone isn't a good metric to go off of. You need to be really vetting out what cards you want to buy, the sets, the players. It's good to be really selective in the process of going about which cards you're going to buy to get graded. I would recommend outside of like the top 2 or 3 rookies each year for, basketball and football, I wouldn't even go outside that range too much, especially if you're just starting out. It's really easy to get burned beyond those top players each year. Moving on to the next one, the COVID boom is past us. It's gone. There's no more everything you grade turns to gold. You can't just put in anything and expect to triple your money. And even the really good cards that are coming out, you can't expect 10x on your money, for most cards. So keep that in mind. Even if you grade 10s and even if you pick the right cards, you're not gonna see the margins that people were seeing in 2021, and that's okay. That's okay, the margins are still there. That's totally fine. All right, next one. Holding new rookies is a bad idea. Obviously, there are exceptions to this, but in general, holding new rookies is a really bad idea. I've gotten burned. A lot of other people have gotten burned by this. This is kind of going back to the number one point I made. I still have some basketball rookies from last year. Outside of like Paolo and Chet, everyone else is basically down. And even the PSA 10s, some I'm losing money on because I got them back late from PSA. Some of them I still have that I'm trying to get rid of. A lot of them I'm just sending off to consignment at this point and taking a loss. This is a big lesson learned. Sell your stuff off before the season starts, especially for the new rookies that you're prospecting on. Number 4, recent cards, even from last year, are for the most part obsolete to grade at this point. You have to think about the life cycle of any given card. When it's released, the bulk of those cards are going to hit the market within the first, 6 months of the release. So if a card is up, especially a lower numbered card or a rare parallel of Chet Holmgren from last year, you have to think to yourself, is this card really going to be gradable, or is someone trying to sell this because there's a defect? I recommend sticking to new cards, preferably from the most recent releases, because that's where most of your gradable stuff is still going to be. It's not to say that there isn't gradable stuff from even 15 to 20 years ago. In fact, I do target a lot of that stuff of key players, but I only really do that when PSA does specials and when I know that they're cards that even with a 9, I can make some money or at least break even with. And last but not least, number 5, it takes time to learn the skills of grading cards. A lot of people want to go into it with a bunch of money and just pour out money and expect to double their money with PSA right away. It just doesn't happen that way, and you're going to lose a lot of money if you have that mindset. I always recommend people to start small. Think about that first order, the first couple orders you do. That's your tuition for learning these skills, and that's ongoing. It's still a learning process even when you're experienced with it. And that's totally okay. It's just good to keep in mind that it does take time to learn the skills, and there are a lot of skills involved with this. Where to buy cards, how to look for cards on eBay that are gradable. I have some videos on those types of things. What sets tend to do well, what sets tend to do poorly. How to use pop reports, what the data is helpful to know and what the data is not helpful to know. And then obviously the inspection and deciding which cards to send out and which to hold back once you actually get the cards in your possession. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's important to realize that if you spend a lot of money in the first couple months that you're doing this, chances are you're going to lose a lot of it. It's better to lose a little bit, learn from your mistakes, and grow. And it's also a lot less demoralizing and a lot less discouraging if you look at it as a learning process where, you know, you're just, when you're starting out, any good cards that you hit and that you get 10s on, that's just icing on the cake. And other than that, you're just learning. You're learning from your mistakes. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. Nothing too crazy, you know, it's a shorter video. I will say these truths about grading, even if they're hard to hear, this does keep the market healthy. It keeps competition there. If it was super easy, A, everyone would do it, and B, there wouldn't be any money in it. There would be no margins for buying graded cards over raw cards. The reason why PSA 10s cost more is because it's hard to get a PSA 10. Not everyone can just buy a raw card and submit it and get a PSA 10 reliably. So even though these things are hard to hear, this is still a very viable way to make profit, especially if you're doing it part-time. Me, I have a career, I have a family, a normal 9 to 5, but I do this part-time, you know, 30 minutes a day, and it's still a very viable way to make money even at that scale. There are tons of advantages to it, and it's just good to keep these things in mind so you don't get discouraged, you don't overspend, and you don't end up losing a lot of money. So thanks for watching. Please leave any comments or any questions down below. I get to all of those. So please subscribe as well and like the video if you found this valuable, and we'll see you guys next time.